Andrew, he's a buddy, and Kirk and Tim were best buddies, and we met Gary at a petrol station, pumping gas. He had a surfboard and a van. Thought, he's a man for us, he's got a van. And he plays bass too. And little Johnny was their little brother who was about 14. I was about 16, 17. And we started up a band, just pulled it together and off we went.
I think it was the leap, the jump from... John was still in school, he was only 14, 15. And
Andrew and I just left school.
When you leave school, you've got to get work, and I was working as a driver for a car yard, and so was Kirk. And I think we just wanted to make a definite jump from finding some means to survive. So we went to Perth and just said, right, that's it, we're just going to play music, and we'll get by hook or by crook, Actually, we did quite well those days. It's like, I think we were more financially off in Perth than we were for the next 3 years after we became INXS.
Well, really, we had about 4 or 5 names. We were called the Vegetables for a while too, and we decided, well, we got to stop this, because our fans were getting very confused. So we decided on INXS. We thought, it's something to live up to. I don't know. It's a good name. I like it. It's unusual.
On the first record we ever made, I don't think Michael really had. I don't think he was sure of what he wanted to write at all lyrically. And he used to come to me and say, "Have you got anything?" And I'd say, "Yeah, I got this Just Keep Walking thing or the Simple Simon thing." And on hindsight, the lyrics are a bit weird and out there. But I think it was when Michael began to realise and get the confidence that he could really, sing things he believed in. That's when it all really started to happen for us. And by about Shabooh Shoobah, the first record we released in North America, his lyric writing was really good. Really good. And it was good for me and the other guys in the band because we could just concentrate on music and make it sound more and more powerful, and Michael got more and more confident about his own lyric and singing ability, and it just went from strength to strength.
Shabooh Shoobah was actually the rhythm that Tim had for a song called The Spy of Love on the album. And he came into the studio going, "Hey, I've got a song, Shabooh Shoobah." "Oh yeah." And he goes, "What's Shabooh Shoobah?" And he goes, "Shabooh, Shabah, Shabooh, Shabah." And that was the song. So that's called The Spy of Love now. So if you got the album, you know what I'm talking about. Personally, the way I do it is I approach each song differently if I can, and try and, if you listen to Shabooh Shoobah throughout all the tracks, the dialect will go from one side to another almost. The accent, from straight out English as possible, the very neutral English too. Sometimes I'll slip in on purpose over the top Americanisms or over the top Australianisms in a few spots as well, and things like that, and change the sound of my voice even to suit it and things like that.
Chris Thomas heard about us through some of the Pretenders people and through Elton John, and came along to show. Do you remember where that was?
It was at the Palladium here in Los Angeles, and he really liked a lot of the songs on the swing, and with the exception of Original Sin, which he really liked, he felt he could do a better production job. And he said that, and he said that he'd like to have a go at working with us. So we thought, why not? He's got an incredible resume of people he's worked with. The first job he ever did was recording the Beatles. That's not bad, So we thought, let's give it a go. And he was amazing to work with, a lot of knowledge and a very clever guy.
In fact, I always remember when we sort of, finished Listen Like Thieves, Chris was already talking about, wanting to do the next album, and now we were starting to get on a roll with it and all that sort of thing. Not that anything I think suffered on Listen Like Thieves, but I think that first week was another one of our huge learning curves, and I think we were all pretty sort of a bit nervous. He's this god of production, and what's he going to do to us, and what's going to happen, and but that's the great knack of a great producer is just bringing out the best in people and in their performance, and that's what Chris is great at doing. He's a producer in the sort of the old but true sense of the word.
I had this picture in my mind of the world listening out for, I guess, advice, or they need something to follow in this sort of the way we've made our environment is that literally you go to school to cope with what we've made around us. That's the whole reason we actually do go to uni and school, whatever, is just to actually learn how to cope with, how to run ourselves in this sort of chaos we've made around us. And it's sort of saying we listen like thieves, like cautiously, and it was just saying stop and take a step back and listen to yourself a lot more, be wary of what you read, hear and see around you. I remember when I was 10, 9,
the Hollies. Was that when the Hollies were out? I remember listening to them. I can't remember any songs now. But I don't think there's nobody ever consciously said, hey, let's make it sound like the Hollies, but that's just what's happening.
That song was written in the studio by Andrew on acoustic guitar, sort of in about an hour. And it was one of the first songs we recorded in the studio too. So it was kind of, it wasn't intentionally made like that, but I guess other people have said it sort of sounds like a really old song, you know, which I guess it sort of does in a way. Something very modern about it.
The horrible truth is that the biggest hits I've ever had have been second thoughts in the first place, if you know what I mean. I mean, Need You Tonight, which is probably our universal #1 all over the world. That's the only time we've ever really had one like that, you know, everywhere, Lithuania to New York, you know. It was a little funky song that Andrew and I put together in about 15 minutes and thought, yeah, that's kind of different, we like that, that's fun. Why don't we put that out first so people understand the album's going to be kind of different? And then we'll put out some singles. So that's the way it goes.
Need You Tonight became the band's first and only #1 single in America and elevated singer Michael Hutchence to rock god status.
There's pros and cons to it. It seems that that's the fact, whether you like it or not, in a way, because it gets in the way of what you do. I mean, it gets your attention, and then it's sort of the wrong attention when you've just written a song and you want people to be listening to your song and not just kissing your album cover or something. I don't, you know what I mean? So there's good and bad to it. I mean, it's very complimentary, and I take it with a grain of salt, I suppose. But I don't know. I'm just me, you know. I didn't invent myself. I just am me, you know. And that's the way I am. Whatever. I don't know. I am an essential person, perhaps. I mean, I like that in people. I think to be in touch with that is a good thing, you know. Being uptight is very damaging, I think. So much pain is caused by actually not admitting to ourselves we are sexual creatures and just being, I don't know, earthy, you know, and just let go and stop, I don't know, face the facts, you know what I mean? Just let go, and I think we'd be all healthier for it, you know. There'd be less pain and misery and stuff in the world, you know.
We actually have taken to the sort of arenas and stadiums like a fish to water, really. I mean, I think it's like these 6 guys that have been on these little stages sort of all their life, and finally let loose in the new monkey cage at the zoo, you know. And it's like suddenly all this room to run around in, and it's really fantastic. Yeah. And the feeling of doing what we did in the pubs in a stadium, it's a great challenge, and when you feel it, you've made it work. It's a really great feeling. I mean, to tell you the truth, you know, it's all about standing there on the stage and hearing that audience, you know, say 26, whatever, or 30,000 people screaming applause at you. It's just something it's just what, you know, something you have to experience in life that you can't even describe it. It's just, you know, you can feel
the energy,
yeah, the energy and the wind and the actual wind pressure of people, like the Glaswegian audience last night.
So they're all blowing as hard as they could.
Michael Hutchence.
We were used to, you know, guys throwing beer bottles at us and oxygen on stage and chairs through windows and
sweat pouring off the roof.
Yeah, you know, it was really a shock, and I never forget
it was really the end of our life then as we knew it.
I think it just, we didn't plan on, you know, we just made a record called Kick, and we didn't make it to be some giant, so, you know, these things aren't means to ends, you know. Music's not a means to an end. We're musicians, it's our life, it's, you know, and you make this album and it becomes incredibly successful all at once, all over the world, and that changes everything forever.
I think Elegantly Wasted is an interesting track, in as much as that particular writing experience was in Dublin, in Ireland, and Michael, you know, had a few problems where he was living in England, and so he decided to go over to Dublin. And that was quite funny, because Michael was very good friends with Bono and the U2 people, you know, and I'd never really met them before. But
who else are you going to meet in Ireland?
Yeah, but also, you know, coincidentally, there was also Oasis, the band that happened to be touring there that night that we were there, and I think Liam Gallagher and Bono and Michael went down to a pub together, which must have been an interesting night, because the next day I remember looking at the paper, and I had a picture of Bono and Liam with their faces up against each other, but I know Michael was there as well. And I don't know if he exchanged some pleasantries or vice versa with Liam. But when we were doing Elegantly Wasted and recording and writing that song in that studio, Michael was really emotive about singing that song, because I think for him lyrically, he was not so much singing that song about himself. I think he was actually indicating that song at other people who are in the entertainment industry as well, you know, and about how they get. he was a deep thinker, old Mike. You know, he really got into other people's heads and really looked around him, you know.
I mean, on this record, actually, they came really easily. I mean, ask any lead singer, you know, ask any band, they'll say, what's the most difficult thing about making a record? They say the lead singer doesn't have any lyrics, and he's sitting around, and you've got a whole bunch of songs, and he's got these mumblings going, and you can't, you know, you've got to get this, the muse going. But on this record, we made quite differently. Andrew and I were writing, and what I guess you call demos, actually is a lot of the record. Because these days you can just come in with sort of a suitcase, and it's what you used to call a recording studio, and it's, you know, so it's kind of lo-fi, hi-fi. You know, a lot of it's just recordings out of bedrooms. It's first take vocals and stuff. So we'd write a song, and I'd finish the lyrics, and I'd sing it that night. So, you know, some of the vocals are like the first or second time I've ever sung them. Just leave it alone. Don't go back and try and make it better or worse or whatever. Don't mess with things. Just keep it fresh and instantaneous and instinctive. And
I mean, Michael as a personality really was a true bohemian, and I think he and an old friend of ours from a band called The Saints, a guy called Chris Bailey, used to have a lot in common. They're very similar people, actually, and Chris came to my wedding, as did Michael, but the reason I say that is because I know those two characters, and they're both bohemian poets, so they're lyric people first. I do write lyrics as a writer, but Michael never played an instrument, so when we were kids, our thing in common was that I played instruments and he wrote lyrics. But the interesting thing was Michael got better and better and better at his lyric writing. He really became a tour de force with his lyric writing. He was very, very good at it. And he was a bloody good singer, too, a really good singer. And, you know, I was in awe of the stuff that he was able to come up with for a while. Really clever. And I learnt a lot, actually, about lyric writing from Michael, as strange as that sounds, and working with him on that level. Michael had a beautiful lyrical, how can I put this, he had an intimacy in his lyrics, an essential intimacy in a way of putting things lyrically, emotionally, that connected with people, both men and women.
We had 20 amazing years with Michael, and what we have is a great legacy, and we'll never forget that.